Hello, everyone, and welcome to Health Mastery for Leaders. I'm so great to have you back. And this has been such an amazing summit that I have created all around crushing sugar cravings, inflammation, autoimmunity, and even Alzheimer's and brain health. And the truth is we all need support right now. And there are so many different ways to heal the body, right? And it amazes me that this is such like information that is not getting out there. So it's in my heart and soul, as you all know, that I am here to give you information from amazing practitioners that are doing, great steps and strides in this world. And one of the individuals that I have on today that I would love to welcome is Dr. Joshua Helman.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, so Dr. Josh has been doing so much research and work all around Alzheimer's. And he's here to talk to us about reversing Alzheimer's. But before we get to the meat of the conversation, I want to introduce him and talk to you a little bit about his training and where he's coming from and just everything that he's doing. So Dr. Josh is going to talk to us about reversing Alzheimer's. Dr. Joshua Helman, MD, is a Harvard trained physician. He's been licensed in 14 states. He has two awesome degrees, one in biochemistry, which is a bachelor's from Harvard magna cum laude, and a master's from the University of Cambridge in the UK. Dr. Josh is a board certified by the American Board of Emergency Medicine and the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. His medical degree is from Harvard Medical School and MIT. He is the former medical director of Hippocrates Health Institute and worked at the True North Health Center for several years with a focus on fasting. Dr. Josh's areas of interest include reversing Alzheimer's, vitality, longevity, regeneration, toxins, mold, Lyme disease, energy medicine, and breath work. He is so passionate about applying his biochemical knowledge to real world challenges. As a plant based physician, he embraces a holistic approach, including the importance of diet and lifestyle for optimal health. So, Dr. Josh, can you talk to us about some of the research and like where you've been going with reversing Alzheimer's because it's everywhere and it's increasing in women over 40 as well?
100%. Yeah, and I know we only have a limited amount of time, but one of the interesting insights into Alzheimer's is that it's normally not just one or two causes. We're talking about between 30 and 100 root causes, and it normally takes 20, 30 years for it to develop. And the first half of time, 10 or 15 years, there may be absolutely no symptoms. So, mentioning, women perimenopausal 40s, 50s, I think the reason we see a lot more Alzheimer's in women, frankly, is the hormonal disturbances with menopause, and it makes sense that it's going to take 20 years to actually see the results.
And when you're evaluating like an Alzheimer's case, I know a lot of individuals are like, you're saying there's 30 or 40 different causes, which is probably massive to somebody's ears. How do you break that down? And like, what does that look like when you're working with it clinically?
100%. So, to give some examples, just so people understand what I'm talking about. So, we're talking about lots of different types of toxins, whether it's heavy metals or petrochemicals, forever chemicals, things like that. And then we're also talking about infections from viruses all the way up to parasites.
Mhm.
And then, Alzheimer's has been called type 3 diabetes. You get it with specifically insulin resistance, going from type 2 to type 3 diabetes. And then you, there's blood vessel problems because the brain is a very vascular organ, and we're only as healthy as our blood vessels. And it turns out if someone that has blockages or other problems with their blood vessels, that can definitely be one of the triggers for Alzheimer's. And then you look at trauma, you know, trauma now or even trauma as early as childhood. I,
Mm.
I I will look at PET scans of my Alzheimer's patients, and you can see on the surface of their brains often areas where they suffered previous trauma, and but you can't normally tell from the PET scan if that's trauma that happened a month ago or 50 years ago.
Yeah, so good. So because the summit like revolves around, we're stepping into the holiday season now. We're in November and it's a slippery slope for many individuals. And we know that type 2 diabetes is on the rise. And thank you for sharing the type 3 because many people don't realize that there is a connection with the sugar in the brain and the glial health and the immune system in the brain. Can we talk a little bit about the how nutrition and having a balanced nutrition plan and keeping the sugar under control and insulin resistance can help you create a healthy brain? And I know the hormones is a piece as well and cortisol, but if you can kind of like tie that all together, that'd be amazing.
Sure. So one of the issues is when when you have insulin resistance, often your blood sugars will rise. And when your blood sugars rise, your the inside of your body gets caramelized. I mean, if you can imagine, you have a much sweeter environment in the blood and organs and other tissues, that those extra blood sugar molecules will actually glom onto other proteins and other molecules in the body and cause destruction and damage through the caramelization process.
Yes.
So, our brains are trained for us to want to eat sweet things, and unfortunately, in our modern society, people add sugar to all these different, processed sugars, but that unfortunately is not a healthy environment for our organs.
And now I know you are a big proponent of a plant-based diet when individuals think of plant-based, whether they're, more vegetarian or vegan, or they feel like they need to get the protein for their muscles from, who they are as an individual. Can you speak about like maybe some like tips and strategies that somebody would think about, like how can I make my brain healthier besides we've all talked about like reversing sugar, getting the insulin resistance, getting our hemoglobin A1C in a really good place. Like, what are some, yeah, techniques that they could think about in their day-to-day life that could help be a little bit more protective around the dementia Alzheimer's piece?
Oh, 100%. So I think the first thing is people should not be afraid about eating whole fruit or whole plants or whole vegetables, or even whole grains. That that going back and talking about insulin resistance, it turns out that if you're eating whole fruit, that's the diet that actually promotes insulin sensitivity. So I think the key is I'm a big proponent of people eating whole plants, but I tell people to stay away from processed food, including processed plants, because when basically these natural substances get uh, processed, they get damaged and they can actually create toxins. A perfect example is the toxin acrylamide, which we know is toxic to the brain. It's produced when you fry foods, specifically carbohydrates. And so fried foods of any type are not healthy. They're not health promoting. And one of the reasons for that is the production of this neurotoxin acrylamide that also, by the way, causes cancer.
Yeah. And so are there specific foods that one can look at for the brain health besides like the plants? And I always tell patients like for pure health, their jaws drop, but I always say 12 to 15 varying types of vegetables a day. And fruit is good, but fruit is sugar as well. And figure out that balance that works. And like you said, the whole carbohydrate, the whole nutrients dense, grains and things. There's a balance that you get to figure out where we're all unique individuals.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the if you look at the average American's diet, 2% of their diet is actually from fruit. So it's not like, oh, if we can just get the American public down to 1% of fruit, all these chronic diseases are going to go away. So again, I emphasize whole fruits. Don't be afraid of eating whole fruit, whole vegetables. And but to answer your specific question, other plants, I'm rosemary. There's something about rosemary and rosemary essential oil that promotes the brain. I think it may be because it helps kill parasites, but there are phytonutrients within rosemary and many other plants that are definitely protective of the brain. Walnuts too. In moderation. I'm not saying just go out and buy a big bag of walnuts every day. Uh, so, so yeah, and to your point, I totally agree. You want a variety of different fruits, vegetables, and whole grains to promote your brain health.
What do you see as, I'm going back a little bit out of nutrition, but my brain is going here because talk about brain health. What
Sure.
is one of the signs and symptoms that you find that when you see a patient, and I'm sure they're coming to you at this point in time because they've already felt the cognitive decline, they felt the memory loss. Like, what could one look at in all your research might be one, two, or three signs? Because I think many people are walking around, before we jumped online and they're like, I'm just getting older. It's part of old age. And you and I both said it doesn't have to be that way. Like, what are some signs that one can look at?
Yeah, so there are many different things to look at. Number one is, as you mentioned, if someone is having problems remembering things they used to easily remember, that's number one. But it's not just memory. We're talking about Alzheimer's or dementia. It can affect the whole brain. It can affect how you're interacting with your friends and family. If you find that you're more anxious or depressed, and again, I'm not saying all causes of anxiety or depression are related to dementia, but it's a warning sign. But I also say if you're having trouble sleeping from the data using artificial intelligence, machine learning, the biggest risk factor for ultimately developing Alzheimer's dementia turns out to be poor sleep and specifically the deep sleep. So if you find that you're not getting adequate sleep, that would also be a warning sign like, if I'm not getting deep sleep, my brain is not recovering during that time period. Therefore, I may well be developing amyloid plaque or other problems in my brain that my body can't clear out at night.
Right, and Dr. Josh makes a really good point, you guys. Like, your brain detoxes at night, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And so many people like, "Oh, I'm good. I can run on 3 or 4 hours of sleep." Maybe, yeah, for 1 or 2 days, but your brain just needs to that whole cortisol calming, that parasympathetic, that rest and digest. Like, that is all true, and it's not something that we just talk about to talk about. Like, that's how the body naturally runs. So coming
But but
into
but
a
that
s
but that's actually new information. I mean, that's certainly not the
Oh,
way I was
okay.
I was taught at Harvard Medical School. But even within
Oh,
the last 10 years, we now know that the brain has a lymphatic system. We did that clears out at night. We didn't even know that, before 10
oh,
years
right.
ago. So let's not blame the general public. This was a poor knowledge from everyone, not just some people out there.
Thank you for reminding me because, like, no joke, like, I forget because I talk about this and I've read it, and so I integrate it with my patients. So thank you for, like, drawing that out to me because I forget that it's so short term, because once we learn, we initiate and then we work with our patients and clients around it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
no, I mean, I was taught in med school that it was macho to like stay up all night and try to function the next day. That somehow to be a good doctor you had to do that. We now know that's silliness.
And look at all the long trainings you all do in medical in your residency. I mean, they're still pushing that, are they not? Or have they changed that a little bit?
I think they have changed it, but and actually during my training, I did see some change, but it was all here's the official schedule. You're not going to be working, but here's the real schedule that you are going to be working. So I don't have friends currently who are in
Yeah.
residency, so I can't tell you, but I can tell you that if that is going on, it's not the right way to approach it. That in order to make good decisions, and guess what? In healthcare, the lives are at stake. You definitely want to be well rested.
And with that, so let's talk about cortisol related to brain health because we are coming into a busy season here. And this is when people start to let a lot of things slip to hold everything together.
100%. Yeah. So cortisol and stress. I mean, cortisol is a stress hormone. And it turns out one of the risk factors for the development of Alzheimer's and dementia is having too much stress. I know this sounds silly, but it's true, and that's why you should find activities and ways to reduce stress, and everyone has their own way of doing it. I, some people like to meditate, some people like to pray. Frankly, I think that's one of the benefits of exercise is when people exercise, that also relaxes their system, that they go into a parasympathetic state after the exercise.
Yeah, so good. What else would you like to share that is on your heart because you're in it like every day and I'm only in it with the patients that I see?
Sure. So, one of the things I commonly see is that it's not just the Alzheimer's patient this affects; it affects their family, and I see the stress the caregivers often have, and I see the caregivers often getting sicker than the Alzheimer's patient, where the caregiver goes into this superhuman, like, well, of course I can stay up 24/7 and watch my husband or wife, and we're not designed to do that. And I know people are like, well, I don't really want help in the house, but sometimes you need to open up because we are not designed to be on 24/7, even if it's taking care of a loved one.
Yeah, so true. And that's back to what I talk to with my patients around loved ones is that you first have to, even when you have children, you first have to take care of you in order to show up and support others.
Totally.
You
Yes.
know, and so that push push go go is just, just a journey that's just not going to be proactive for your health. So what else would the audience like could you share with the audience?
Wow. So here's some exciting things. We now know that the root cause of many chronic diseases, including Alzheimer's, is inflammation. And it's really exciting. I'm part of an FDA drug approved for compassionate use that decreases the level of inflammation in the brains of our patients, and we're seeing good results reversing Alzheimer's using this new FDA approved drug for compassionate use. And specifically for the nerds out there, it goes after a lectin. People have heard about lectins in plants. Well, guess what? Our bodies make their own lectins to cause inflammation, to stimulate our immune system. And this drug goes after a lectin inside of us called galectin 3.
And so are they using this drug right now? Because I'm not familiar with it, or
Yeah.
are you guys through trials?
Yeah, so I'm part of the trial, and we're giving this to patients, and we're having good results. And the other exciting thing is we're not seeing the side effects.
That's great.
Some of these new drugs like Leqembi causes brain bleeds and brain swelling in a third of patients. Leqembi attacks the amyloid plaque, which we now know amyloid plaque is actually your body's way to heal the brain. It's kind of like a scab. It's antibacterial to fight infection. If you start attacking the amyloid, you can cause bleeding and swelling of the brain in a third of the patients. We're not seeing those side effects. So this is really exciting.
That's so awesome, and thank you for sharing that with me, and when I bet, when you're working with a patient, I'm sure you're putting them through lifestyle changes as well, like, I want people to really hear that because I think for so long this is beginning to change, and one of my passions of healing chronic disease, for so long, people are like, this symptom is happening. Could you give me a pill so that I could heal myself or a medication or even an herb, quite frankly? Like, Dr. Donahue, I want more of a natural substance. But the truth is, it's the healing of the whole body. So you're still working with the lifestyle changes as well with patients?
100%. And I think you're exactly right, Dr. Donahue. You have to in my opinion, you have to layer the lifestyle changes, the smart supplementation, even some pharmaceuticals on top, because so in this example, this drug goes after inflammation, but if you're not changing the root causes, the things that are causing the inflammation, as soon as you stop this drug, you know, the disease process is going to come back,
Uh,
unfortunately.
And have you been involved in any of the research around like GLP-1 for brain health and how it's supposedly helping you with inflammation in the brain and bringing down insulin resistance, or is that
Yeah, so I personally have not been doing research on GLP-1, but I'm actually excited
me
by
too?
some of the research I'm seeing on some of the GLP-1 agonists that are helping brain function. So I would say stay tuned there. That I think that may be also a complementary approach to improving brain health.
Yeah, because the GL1P receptors are everywhere in the body, and I didn't realize that until I started digging into the research and started really looking at it, but the key is to keep that lifestyle in there as well so that we don't lose the muscle mass and you keep the meals going. But I know there's a whole different market when we look at those at this point in the game. So,
Right,
yeah,
right, and to be specific, there, what the early research is showing is something called microdosing, that you need a much lower dose
exactly.
of these peptides to have a good effect on the brain than what they're using for appetite suppression for weight loss.
That's
And
right.
and and, that, and that's why I'd be reluctant to tell people, say, oh, get started on this weight loss drug because it's going to help your brain. If you're looking specifically to help your brain, you may want to get these peptides formulated in micro doses to specifically target the brain.
Yeah, and that's the learning that I'm learning because I would love to see this because of like the research that's out there, but not endousing the cells at the massive weight loss dosing that we do, kind of like you can overdose a blood pressure medication and somebody can't get out of bed. That same sort of scenario I think of with the microdoses of these semipeptides. So is there anything else? I know I keep saying that, but I'm like trying to like get your brain to be like, what else can we share to excite people? Because there is such, and I'm sure you see this every day, as soon as somebody says Alzheimer's, dementia, it's just like, I'm doomed and there's no help. Like, if we could empower people to be like, Dr. Josh has help, they're doing the research. Now this drug is out there. Like, where's that hope and energy? Because I think that is so much more powerful than anything that we can give to that patient.
100%. So, again, we could talk literally for hours about this, but I'll give you another area that's very exciting to me, and I'm seeing good results with patients, and that's using certain gases. You're right. You heard it right. Gases that are helping brain function. I'll give you three. Uh, Oxygen. People understand that oxygenation, delivering oxygen to the brain, can definitely help. That's number one. Number two is nitric oxide is a gas composed of one nitrogen and one oxygen atom stuck together. But we now know that nitric oxide gas can open up blood vessels, including the blood vessels to the brain. So I've seen good results giving supplements or telling people to eat leafy greens to to increase their nitric oxide concentration. And then the third gas I want people to be aware of is actually hydrogen gas. It turns out that hydrogen gas, H2, uh, can specifically improve brain function, and the biochemical explanation is interesting. It's actually through hormones like ghrelin. Uh, Now, ghrelin's known as the hunger hormone, but it actually can improve brain function. But it's an indirect effect, and people are like, well, how do I get hydrogen gas? There are now available for sale uh, generators. You can buy your own generator of hydrogen water, of hydrogen gas that will be in the water.
Yeah, so I think you're referring to some of the hydrogen water bottles that are being sold out there, that sort of. Yeah,
True.
and
Yeah.
are also, I know they're all also kind of a fizzy pill that I've used with
Oh
patients
yeah.
before that's hydrogen that you put in the water and drink right away.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so good. Thank you so much. Like because we get to like really show up and say like there's great research out there But would you agree, Dr. Josh, at the end of the day, it's how we treat our bodies every single day and being connected to them that allows us to eat the right amount of plants, eat the right amount of protein, the healthy fats. And I know there's theories about chia seeds and buckwheat and all that to keep the brain strong that somebody could do at home while they're working with somebody like yourself to actually create a plan that works for them to stop this progression. Now, are you only able to slow the progression down? That's what patients are gonna or clients are gonna ask, or are you able to start to heal the process?
Yeah, so the exciting thing is we're actually seeing reversal. And I've been in this field for over 6 years, and I can say that because I see patients with dementia and Alzheimer's get better, and they get their life back, they get their relationships back. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, and it's so exciting to be part of that process. And you're exactly right that there are definitely things that you can do at home. Whether it's eating, making sure you have enough omega 3s, but it's a process, and what I would suggest is if there's anyone out there with dementia or Alzheimer's, or in their family, that they seek out an expert like myself. I mean, I haven't even shared with you, we're using cutting edge technology like total plasma exchange to filter out some of the toxins that are causing problems in the brain. So it is, and there are probably 50 different experimental modalities now in the works for Alzheimer's. So I'm confident that this is going to be something that we're going to get better and better at reversing. I'm really optimistic, and I'm really grateful that you agreed to interview me today.
Yeah, totally. And are you doing those therapies at your clinic? You're in Florida at your clinic in Florida. So if somebody wanted to connect with you, those therapies are being done.
100%. Yeah, I'm doing those therapies, as we speak. So yes.
Yeah. So good. So, Dr. Josh, I just really appreciate this because this work is so needed. And what I want to say to individuals that are listening is if we remember back all the way to my grandparents, your grandparents, our great grandparents, we did not see Alzheimer's and dementia as much as we're really seeing now. I don't know if you want to speak into that before we close, but I don't recall seeing it at the level that we see now.
Yeah, so personally, my own grandmother had Alzheimer's. I
Okay.
saw how it devastated her and our family. But I think you're right. The numbers are going up exponentially. And I don't think it's just because people are living a little bit longer. I think, unfortunately, the toxin levels are going up, and our lifestyle is getting worse. And but frankly, I'm optimistic now, knowing what I know is that we can, number one, get this information out to the public, and then number two, they can prevent, take action now so they can prevent getting it, because it's certainly a lot more difficult to reverse it once you have this chronic disease, but we can definitely help with both.
So awesome. And Dr. Josh put together, as you all know, a free gift, which I really encourage you to download. It's called Reversing Alzheimer's, and gonna ask him to talk a little bit about it. But please, all of you realize that these speakers and these practitioners are doing me a favor and you a favor and time out of their life when he's healing and treating Alzheimer's patients every day to step in and get the word out. And I'm just so grateful for that. So please do take the time to download this and get over into his world because this is not my world. I do work with it, but it's not my forte every single day. And he's doing the research, he's in with the drug, and he's like working through this and doing all these amazing treatments that he didn't even get to talk about. Could you talk a little bit about the handout and what people can gain from it by downloading it from the dashboard?
Sure. So the focus of the Reversing Alzheimer's handout are simple steps that you can take today to prevent and reverse Alzheimer's for yourself and loved ones. And I know it takes some effort to do a download, but I tried to get this all, make it simple and straightforward for you to follow.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to close with?
Um Yeah, let me just close with a gratitude to both you, Dr. Donahue, and your audience, because the first step, I believe, in reversing and preventing diseases is to be aware that it actually is doable. You know, during so much of our current medical system, we wait until the very end, until you've already developed a chronic condition, and then and only then do people start trying to treat it, and then it's a whole lot more difficult. The fact that so many people here are watching is encouraging to me, that people are actually focused on prevention and preventing people from getting these awful chronic diseases. So for that reason, I'm optimistic that we have a large audience here that gets it and is not going to sit at home and do nothing. Is actually going to take action and have the strength um, to improve their health and that of their friends and family.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I take that truly to heart, and I'm thankful for you showing up as well. And remember, my sum with what I just heard from Dr. Josh is prevention is key. And prevention can be a ripple effect. And that's why we're all showing up, because as you start to change your life, and it sounds like Dr. Josh got into this because of his grandmother and, the life that they were living and seeing, it becomes a ripple effect. And I truly believe that. And the more that we step up in our health, the better relationships we have, the better life that we have, the more positivity, and how people can listen and hear us on so many levels, from, healing all the way through. So I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I appreciate everybody showing up and listening to this. Please take action. Please reach out to Dr. Josh with any questions. His team and himself can support you in those detailed questions. And I just want to thank every one of you for showing up again for Health Mastery for Leaders and listening to Dr. Josh all about reversing Alzheimer's. And there is hope, and there is prevention, and there are treatments out there. So blessings to all, each and every one of you, and have an amazing rest of your day.
And if I could just put a plug
Yeah,
in, if people want to reach out to me, my website's just Dr. Josh, drjosh.com, and you can reach me by email, drjosh, at drjosh.com. And I'm on all the social media under Green Brains MD, Green Brains with an SMD.
that's awesome. And remember, all of you, it will be on his dashboard as well, just as a reminder. So it'll be right on his dashboard next to his picture with the download. Please reach out to him.